Hey, what's up, Ariel? How you doing?
What's up, Cream? I'm good. You?
Good, 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 good. Just a quick, easy one for you. I want to ask again about the defense, and obviously you guys have individuals with incredible defensive resumes, but I'm curious, is there anything that you guys are doing outside of just individual talent that is different than in the past that has kind of contributed to how well you guys are playing on that defensive end, or is it just a whole lot of really good all NBA, all WNBA defenders?
Yeah. I don't know if it's different from the past, to be honest with you, but I think our level of communication, the more consistent it can be, the better we are. I think you kind of notice that in games where not only do we hold people to shoot under 40, 35%, but we can hold them to a certain amount of points in the paint. I think because you got a lot of teams in the league that they're capable of putting up 35, 40 points in the paint. And that's a hard team to beat when you let them do that. So I think our ability to communicate and control what we can control on the defensive end kind of gives us that defensive prowess that allows us to stay in the games even when we're not knocking down shots.
And just to follow up, I don't think Atlanta necessarily gets the credit that she deserves defensively, and we've all seen Shakira play really well as a rookie. How much has them behind you? How much does that help y'all on the perimeter be able to kind of be aggressive, knowing you've got some help behind you?
It's amazing for me. I love it. We have three true shot blockers, and one of them's a rookie, which is extremely exciting for me. It allows me to get into my defender more and make them put their head down and think that they can get to the rim. And then, lo and behold, I got my big back there. And to Atlanta's defense, I think she's gotten better every year. I think every year she sees that our team is finding like a little bit of a defensive edge over the years that I've been here. And so she's kind of took it upon herself, just get her feet better, get her base better. She's always been a great shot blocker. And then you add Elizabeth Williams, who, I mean, she goes in there and gets it. I mean, crazy. So as a guard, especially me guarding a point guard most nights, I am extremely thankful to have those three behind me.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yep, for sure.
Alexa.
Hey, Ariel. I wanted to kind of build a little bit off of Kareem's question, but ask you specifically about Shakira.
Mhm.
What about the maturity of her game and her readiness just to be able to do what she's done this season, like stands out most to you? And how would you even compare it to other rookies you played, alongside or against so far?
Yeah. Shakira understands the game of basketball. Like Shakira can hoop. So it's not necessarily like the details and the little stuff and the things that obviously she's gonna learn over time and with just experience of being in this league. But she understands the game of basketball. She knows when she can and can't go get something. So her ability to kind of play the safety of the defense at the back end of it, it's incredible, but it's also extremely exciting because she has so much room for growth. And I think that is crazy.
And especially early on when Elena was taking more rest days,
Mhm.
where do you think the team would be without her in a way? Or what has she brought to the team, especially so early on in her career, to help you guys be where you are right now?
I mean, we wouldn't be. She's a big part of what we do. I don't think we necessarily drafted someone to come in and have to do the things that she's doing, but she stepped up to the plate and showed us that she was capable of doing it. So that's something that we expect of her every night. I mean, she came in and started off really well. And she's continuing to grow and blossom. Even though some games she might not seem as consistent, she's still doing great things for us. And not only do we really appreciate that, but the work that she puts in. Like she's coming in early, staying late, doing her treatment, fitting into the professional ranks well. So I'm just really proud of her, and I'm thankful that she was able to come in and contribute what she has. And I'm excited to see what she's going to give us the rest of the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Jen.
Hey, Ariel.
Hey, Jen.
With Thursday's game being the midday camp game, just curious, do you like those?
I'm kind of like noise sensory overload this person. But I do love that we have the opportunity to give kids a chance who probably not only don't know what the WNBA is, but don't know our faces to be able to see us. So I'm extremely excited about that because if they don't see it, they don't know it exists. So I think it's a chance for us to get in front of some kids and just allow them to like kind of be free, have a good time, and enjoy some sports.
And then, Kareem asked about the defense. Turning to the offense, we've talked a lot about how kind of it's been progressing over the course of the season. Looking back on it now, since the beginning of the season, where do you feel like the offense has improved the most?
Our pace, us pushing the ball up the floor. I think you can kind of see that within the last 2-3 games. Our pace is increasing, and that's something that has to, because we got to get out and score in transition.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Tyler.
Hey, Ariel, how are you doing?
Hey, Tyler, I'm good. You?
I'm good.
Good.
I want to ask, I know she's played several games consecutively in a row for you, but in the games that Elena hasn't played this year, have you noticed how defenses are approaching you or covering you differently? And what are they doing?
I definitely have more eyes on me when she's not there. So I love when she plays. But they're just more physical with me. I think that's kind of just from what I've been seeing this year. People are just trying to be more physical with me, take me off my planes and different things like that. I mean, if anything, it opens up more things for my teammates. So.
And my second question is, how has the pacing of this season kind of been for you? Because I know you guys had a lot of games early on, and now the games are a little bit more spread out here towards this last month of the season. How has that affected you, and what's your kind of approach these last couple of weeks?
High on the recovery, man. Last month was really tough. It felt like we were either on a plane or on a court. And I know we like eat, sleep, and hoop during the season. But that was a lot. But for us to be able, I want to say we have maybe 3 more games than a few teams, and up to 4 on some teams, which is crazy to think of. But I'm glad that we have days where we can get in the gym and practice and wake up in our own beds. I'm really excited about that.
Thank you, Ariel.
Yeah, for sure.
Last question, Marco.
Hey, Ariel.
Hey, Marco.
So, with Elena's recent injury concerns, what kind of adjustments are you guys making as kind of like disaster preparedness in case she's not available for any critical games?
I don't think that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's it. Thanks, I.
Thanks, Carol.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
All right.
Quickie, you guys signed Davina for the rest of the way. What went into that decision?
We liked what we've seen. Obviously, we're not playing her in games right now, but she wasn't signed to play in games at that point. She was signed to be insurance, and we like, we're doing part of the reason we did 7 days for a while is to kind of get a feel for her in some practices, to see what else would happen around the league. If there would be any buyouts around the league. There was only one that affected anybody, and that was kind of preordained with Rhea Hartley. The other one was to get through the trade deadline and see what else was, going on. And, for us, because she's under contract for the rest of the year, we have her rights for next year going into training camp. So to have another young athletic player, wing player that you have contract rights to is kind of important going into next year. It's like having another draft pick.
So you feel good about the play. I know before you were concerned with having that flexibility in case of emergency. After you kind of got through all those stages that you're talking about, you feel like, it's kind of set where it's set.
Yeah. I mean, we have 9 games left. She can play a little bit of point guard if we need it. The other part of it is that we didn't see anybody else that we really felt like we would want to sign to another 7-day over her for the rest of the year. We liked what we saw. So that was good enough for us.
Cool. And one more from me. I wanted to ask about the defense without you, giving away the house secrets. But I'm curious, are you guys doing more or something different, or what more have you been able to do defensively this year that has led to so much success? Or is it as simple as, having 3 all WNBA defenders and a couple other, premier defenders on the roster also. Is it that simple, or are you guys able to do more with them?
I think it's somewhat that simple in the sense that we've actually have 4 who have been on the all defensive team, counting Elizabeth, and Shakira, I think will be a mainstay on the defensive team at some point in her career. Elena is one of the better shot blockers in the league. We've just had time together to practice in training camp to get better. It helps. I mean, it's like anything else. We would be a better offensive team if we added more offensive players, and that's what they did. And so, they've gotten better as the season goes on at communicating and learning each other. We still have days where we got to figure some stuff out. But I think we're way ahead of, most teams about where we want to be defensively. We're not doing anything like significantly different. There's a few things that are subtle, but I'm not going to talk about them. I mean, it's just, and each scouting report is a little bit different too, but it's nice when you can defend both perimeter and post players because of the personnel we have.
And that's going to be my last follow-up. That's what I was going to ask, between Elena, Shakira, Elizabeth, all being able to protect the rim and protect the paint, how much does that allow those 3, everybody on the perimeter to really kind of get aggressive against opposing, guards and wings on the outside?
I think it helps a lot. It also helps a lot that you can have people with other teams' post players not have to double team. That Shakira and Elizabeth and Elena can guard them one-on-one, so you don't have to help as much off of 3-point shooters on the perimeter. If you get stuck in situations where you're having to double team post players all the time, which has happened to us in the past, to just get it out of their hands, you are going to give up something else. And so right now, over the last 10 games or so, I think we're in the top of, defending the 3 and the top 3 of defending the paint. So, that's a nice luxury to have, to not have to overhelp and double team.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Alexa?
Hey, Mike, I hope you can hear me. My internet is
Yep, I can.
going out a little bit. Great. I wanted to ask you about Shakira specifically. What about how, her maturity of being able to do what she's done so far in her rookie year has impressed you the most? And is that something that you saw when you were scouting her at the college level that you thought she'd be able to kind of translate so quickly to the pro level?
Well, I think particularly defensively, we saw a player who, one of the best attributes of a post player defensively is to be able to kind of direct traffic and call out coverages on pick and rolls and things in lane. When we watched her in college, she was a really good communicator with her teammates on defense, calling out screens, loud coverages, blocking out, knowing when to help and when to get back. She just has defensive instincts. She has probably some good offensive instincts, but she just has basketball instincts that are, ahead of the game as far as being taught. And I think that was the starting point for us. We figured she'll continue to get better at both ends of the court, but to find a young player who already, it's hard enough, I think, sometimes at any level to get your whole team talking and communicating the right way. But if you have a rookie that can come in and do some of that stuff on the first day, it's really helpful.
Last one for me. Is there anything about her game that surprised you on either end of the floor? Good or bad, I guess.
No, nothing bad. I think we didn't know how quickly she would help us on the offensive end. I mean, I don't run any plays for her, and yet she still scores, 8, 9, 10 points a lot of nights because she's willing to set good screens. She, willing to get on the offensive boards, but she has, what we didn't know, I didn't have an opinion one way or the other, is her sense of timing, of knowing kind of where the little gaps are in the defense when maybe somebody hers overhelps on a lane or on a guard, that she kind of knows instinctively where to be. That's been a plus, probably just because we didn't know.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
Yep.
Jen?
Hey, coach, sticking with Shakira, how's her ankle doing?
She did the full practice today. So as far as I'm concerned, she's good.
Sounds good. And looking ahead at Thursday, I asked Ariel this too, but do you like camp day games? Like, how do you feel about that?
Oh boy. I mean, I've always kind of liked them in the sense that it gives some kids a chance to see a game that might not ever come to one. Otherwise, then through, their camp group, exposes new young kids to our game. And now with more games on TV than it was when I first came in the league, they can carry over and say, hey, I saw this great game the other day and I want to watch them play again, and maybe bring their parents back, or talk them into going, watching on TV, all of those things. Sometimes you want to wear earplugs during the game, but it's a good atmosphere. And the only really hard part for us really is just moving locations and having to relocate ourselves for a couple days. But we can get through it for this.
Last thing for me, just sticking with New York for a second, based on the two previous games that you've had against New York this year, do you feel like it's just a matter of playing better than you did in those games? Or do you feel like New York is kind of a tricky matchup for you in other ways?
I mean, it's not an easy matchup. You would think that we would have, decent matchups on the perimeter. They're an interesting, just some teams are a little bit harder. We played them the first time basically even. I wasn't at the game, but it was basically even until the last play or two of the game. They made the big play at the end and we didn't. They made a three to tie it and made a big, I think we fouled. I don't even remember the last play, but they end up winning by a couple. The game in New York, Natasha Howard was great and we didn't have Elena. I felt like we let Howard get loose more than anything else. She and Hanju were the difference in the game. I mean, between the two of them, I think they were like 19 for 22 or something, whatever it was, or 25. And then, we just didn't do a good job. Having Elena in that game would have helped us, but it's, still no excuse. We haven't scored real well against them. They're a little bit different team to play against. But I feel like we just didn't play good basketball in the game in New York. I felt we were tired. I felt like Lena not being there, and it was kind of, one of those ones we weren't sure until that week whether she was going. But we need to make some shots. I mean, you always worry when you play New York about their 3-point shooting. And I think in that game, we held them to like 19% from the three, but Natasha Howard had 27. And I think Hanju had like 14 or 15, whatever she had in the game. And we didn't do a good job on them at all.
Thanks, coach.
Tyler.
Hey, coach, going back to Capital One on Thursday, do you have any fond memories of playing in that arena? It may not even been while you were coaching Washington, but is there any memory that sticks out for you being there?
It's a mixture. I mean, we've played some pretty good games there. I remember when I was coaching in Connecticut, playing them in a playoff series in Washington. I remember a heated exchange at the end of a game in a playoff game. It's a longer story, but those kind of things, playing there my first year coaching here and making the playoffs when we weren't expected to, I think, playing those playoff games early on, I think was a good feel. I have a clear memory of being in Connecticut and coming here the last week of Washington's season before I came here, and how dead the whole situation was. I mean, wondering whether Washington was going to be in existence the following year. There was hardly any fans that year. The team was 5-29. It just felt like a tough issue. And I couldn't believe, thinking back, that 3 months later, I was the head coach, trying to revive it. So, but I do remember that feeling coming in that week and going, boy, what has happened here? This just isn't, the same Washington that, was first in the league. So it was my job to try to revive everything And so, coming in and playing there and making the playoffs our first year after what I had seen the year before, that's kind of probably a memory for me.
Thanks, coach. That's all I got. Appreciate it.
Last question to Christos.
Hey, coach. Hope you're doing well, first of all. I would like to ask you about the depth of the group this season. What did you say about the flexibility and the versatility of this group so far in the season?
I think it's been good because we've been able to have people who on our bench at almost every position come in and step up and make good plays for us. I mean, Elizabeth Williams has been a starter. Maisha Hines-Allen has been a starter. Shatori has had exactly what I've wanted from her coming off the bench this year. I would put her in the race for sixth person of the year. I mean, she's been that good. I'm sure there's a couple candidates out there that are probably already the favorites in that regard, but I just think that she's given us a big lift now for going on a month, helping us. And then Rui coming in and keeping our tempo. I know it's only 10, 12, 14 minutes a night, but that pace that she plays at helps us maintain what we want to do. And so we didn't have that at all last year with all of our injuries and the things that we went through. This has just been a whole different season in that regard.
And about Maisha and Elizabeth, last season Maisha was one of the most important players starting in the starting lineup. This season, coming off the bench, how she embraced her role this season?
I think it's been tough a little bit at times. I mean, last year, it actually goes back 2 seasons. She was, an all league player when we were in the bubble. And then last year she was, playing well, and then got hurt and missed a lot of games with her knee injury. And so, I think, she was a free agent, signed a big contract. A lot of times you feel pressure to live up to the contract. We had thoughts of maybe starting her and Elena together at the start of the year, but Shakira was so good. She's really had to adapt probably more than any other player on our team. One night she starts when Elena doesn't play. The next 2 nights she doesn't start. She comes off the bench and her minutes are different. I think she's had a tough adjustment. I think as we've gone through the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's gotten a little smoother for her. There's more of a rhythm to what she's doing. And she knows that, we need her to be good every night.
Thank you very much, coach.
You bet.
That's it, Coach. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks.